Mr. Reggie, could you give me your full name?
Reginald Bernard Davis
And
Sr.
Senior, my goodness. And could you tell us something about your mom and your mom and dad? What were their names?
My mother was born in Anne Arundel County to a father who had a farm. He might have been one of the ones who got that 40 acres and a mule. It might have been, I'm not for sure, but they had a big farm. And she was raised on the farm, and it was 13 of them.
Is this your mother's down there?
Yes.
That's his mother in the middle right there. And could you maybe kind of hold it up a little bit?
Well, actually, Belva, what I can do is shoot this later and cut it
Okay,
to the
all
spot
right,
later.
okay,
So.
all right. And your mother's name was?
Her name was Anita Amelia Stephanie.
And you're from Baltimore?
I was born in Baltimore.
And your father, what's his name?
His name is George Edward Davis, and he was born in Abington, Maryland, in Harford County. And he was the son of a preacher.
Is that him right there, down the bottom there? Is that his father down the bottom? Which one is your
On this side, yeah.
That's your father. And that's his father down the bottom,
We
right?
don't.
No, but both of them is my father.
All three of them.
But this one is my mother's father.
Oh, okay.
All right. Let's. Oh, now what is happening here with the temperature? Color temperature. Huh.
Now, is that your father that's beside your mother?
Yeah.
That's your father too. Two pictures of your
Yes.
father.
Two pictures
When
of
my
your mother.
father was young and then when he was old.
Okay. And what was your father's name?
His name was George Edward.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
You're on.
I know your grandfather and your father was a minister.
Yes.
Do you remember what church or what congregation?
He was in the Methodist in the Washington Conference before the Methodists went to, United Methodist.
Oh.
And the unique thing about it, my grandfather went to Morgan Academy.
My goodness.
And my uncle, who is a minister too, he went to Morgan Academy. And then he went to another school in Chicago. But at them days, it wasn't that many. My aunt went to Morgan for a while, and she went to Columbia, I think. And then she became a principal in the school system in Baltimore for years before she died.
My goodness. Could you tell me how many brothers and sisters, your siblings? How many sisters and brothers you have?
Mine, I have 3 sisters and a brother. It was 5 of us.
All five of us, and all of them were from Baltimore, raised in Baltimore?
All of us was born in Baltimore, but one sister was born in Virginia. We had to go down there during the Depression. I guess it's Depression. Yeah, during the Depression, because he didn't have a job, and so my aunt lived in Loudoun County in Virginia, and we thought they were rich because he had a brand new 29 Ford, and he bought a brand new 32 Ford because he worked for the rich people named Phipps in Middleburg, Virginia. And he was the driver and gardener, and she was the house cleaner and maid, but we thought they were rich. They always had a lot of money, so we thought. So that's what we had to do during the Depression. If it wasn't for them, I don't know how we would have made it.
Oh, I see.
until Daddy got a job in back in Baltimore, so we came back to Baltimore. I went down there when I was 2, and I came back to Baltimore when I was 5.
I see.
And then we moved out in Anne Arundel County, right on the outskirts of Baltimore, in a little black settlement called Pumphrey. And then he started preaching as a local preacher, and then when his father was in Frederick County, out Hope Hill. And when he got sick, Daddy preached in his place, and then he died, and then Daddy was appointed out there. That's how I got to Frederick when I was 17 years old.
Oh, I see. And now you're happily married to your wife. What is your wife's name?
Her name is Catherine.
Catherine. And how many children do you have now?
5,
How many?
3
boys
girls and a boy.
and a boy.
No, 4 girls and a boy.
Okay.
Mhm.
Did you want to tell them their names? And how many grandchildren do you have?
My oldest daughter is Sandra Davis. The next is Faye, Paige now, and Stephanie, and Regina, and Reginald.
I see. Okay.
And so now my name is Reginald Davis. His name is Reginald Davis. His son's name Reginald Davis, and his son's son is named Reginald Davis. So it's 4 Reginald Davises right now.
My goodness. Could you tell us something about that picture there? I know you was in the service. What branch of service were you in?
Well, I was in the Army, and at the time it was segregated, and I took basic training in Aberdeen, Maryland, and then I went overseas. I went to a mechanic school up in Aberdeen, but when we got overseas, they tried to get up a band, and my name was in as a trumpet player, so that's when really my music career started, because I wasn't much of a player, but they got in Japanese teachers and they taught us, and we had a band.
Japanese?
Yeah, and so that's how this picture came about when I was in the service in 1946, 47, 48.
My goodness. Something. And then when you came out of the Army,
And when I came out of the Army, I bought a trumpet, and the first place I played was in Brown's Tavern out in Centerville.
oh yeah, I remember that.
And then I went then I joined Mac Hill's band that was here in Frederick. And then Billy Wilson got up a band, and I played with them. But I never stopped playing. Everybody else stopped and died, but I just kept on playing. And I'm still trying to play after all those years.
I heard it. You was telling me that you played for the church sometimes.
Well,
gospel music.
it's a little different. I didn't want to play no church music, and I was mad at Jesus because I wasn't getting any plays in clubs and everything. And I told Jesus one time, I said, "You're keeping the reason why you're letting me do this so I can play in church, and I ain't playing in no church." That's what I said to Jesus. But he must have smiled because he knew better, because he knew everything. So for the last 4 years, I went out to Buckestown and played in the church out there for 4 years, but I never was happy about it because I wanted to play jazz. I didn't want to play anything else.
Well, maybe you want to go on and ask them some questions.
Can you tell us about school?
I hated school. And as soon as I was old enough to quit, I quit. I went to Bates High School in Annapolis. That's really when the music started, because back in them days, they didn't have instruments, and we would sell. It was during the war. We sold rags, tin, and anything you could to get money enough to have an instrument when you got down to Bates High School in Annapolis, Maryland. But I really didn't stay there that long before I came up here. And so when I came up here, I sold it to buy a bicycle so I could ride around Centerville and Hope Hill. And until I went in the Army, then I picked music back up again.
After you got out of the Army, what was your career line?
Well, when I got out of the Army, I got a job at the Buckestown Brickyard for 3 months. I worked on the railroad for, I guess, maybe 2 months. Then I went to down the road in construction. And it was for the city of Rockville, but they hadn't really, incorporated yet, because when they paid us in money, and it wasn't nothing else. They just paid us cash, money. And so that's why I don't get Social Security, because it's not recorded. And so I don't have enough quarters to draw Social Security. But we were in this mud, me and a friend of mine named John Lee from Hope Hill. And we were down in this mud and stuff, and Mr. Luther Thomas said, "Boy, y'all killing yourself. Y'all been in the service. Why don't you go in the government?" They said, "What y'all talking about down there?" And so me and John got out, we came out and said, we quit. So we went and put in for NIH, the Naval Hospital, and Fort Detrick. And NIH called us first. He had 2 years of college, so they put him in the stock room, and I became a janitor. And I stayed there until I transferred up to Fort Detrick. And I worked at Fort Detrick for 20 years, and Nixon came up personally and shut down bacteriological warfare. And so I was out of the government for 5 months. But luckily, I got back in. I didn't draw my money down and all of that when I got out. So I got back in, and I went back in the government after 20 years as a laborer, like I did 20 years earlier. And the first time in my life is when I really got serious. I never was a serious person. My father said I always cut the fool. And I was a comedian. That's what the teacher called me when I was in Bates High School, and I didn't even know what comedian was. I thought it was a bad word. but I was, and then when I came up here, I was the same way in this high school. So I quit and went up there and signed for the Army and went in the next day. And that's how I got in the service. Whew, what a long time ago.
Let's talk more about you, Jazz. Okay, Mr. Davis, what do you enjoy playing the most? The piano, your horn, or singing? Which do you like to do?
I can play the saxophone better than I can play the piano. But that's a single instrument. Well, a piano you can really work by yourself. You don't need anybody to play with. But I can get over the saxophone better than I can get over the piano. But I played and sang. I can play for 4 hours at a club. And I have played 5 hours without getting up, just playing and singing. But I'm not a piano player per se. I'm a piano chorder. I do more chording than I playing. There's three kind of piano players. A piano banger, a piano player, and a piano chord. I can chord. And so that's what I've been doing, and I can play a whole dance by myself.
I know you could.
And I know I can do what no other musician in this town can do, or maybe around, because I can play the saxophone and the keyboard at the same time, because I have things over here where I can play the disc, the rhythm disc, and play the piano and sing with that with just a saxophone. In fact, I've been doing that out to the Holiday Inn in the last 3 or 4 Fridays. I've been going out there with the karaoke, singing and playing saxophone. So I don't get many jobs because I don't know. Won't nobody seem to hire me, and so I'm paranoid. I'm scared to ask them because I don't want them to tell me no. So I won't ask to play anywhere. And I know the better musicians in town, when they get plays and stuff, they don't ask me to play with them. Now, I always say to myself, either I'm too good or too bad. I don't know which one it is, but they don't seem to want to. I kind of skim because I know more songs than any of them.
I know you do.
I know a whole lot of songs. And so that might scare them a little bit. But I want to play, but I'm not begging to play because I'm not hungry. A person who have to do it for a living have to take low. When a club opened up, or when I left here after I retired and went to Baltimore for a while to play, because I still wanted to do this thing. And I got down there, it was dog eat dog. I ain't never seen musicians like that. And you played for nothing. And I said, I might as well go on back home. So I came back home. And then I played for a while by myself, here and there. And I had a band myself. It was Fish Cake and Claudia and Joe Leach. Different ones, but we never got off the floor yet. But to make it, it was a fellow named Philip Stanton. He was a drummer. And they were into drugs, and they told me I ain't gonna never play until I start shooting some smack. And that's how Miles and all of them did. All of them was into heroin and all of that. And I said, if I gotta put a needle in my arm to play, then I ain't gonna never play. Mm-hmm. But they all dead now.
They all did. No. You were saying Fish Cake. What does he play?
Guitar and bass.
Oh, does he play jazz too?
We played, when I played with them, it wasn't exactly jazz. But see, jazz, the history of jazz. Why do they call jazz jazz? And the only way I can figure out why, and I'm not taking anybody else's word for it, it's mine, when we would play all of these beautiful ballads, and I think it came from this guy said, come on, jazz it up, pick it up, jazz it up. And I think that's how jazz first originated, that way. Jazz it up, you know, and so let's just pick it up and play it fast. And so I'm accused of playing jazz. I really don't consider myself a jazz player, but everybody say I am, so if they want to say it, they can say it. I just like, when I came along, it was 2 choices. Hillbilly, or the big band era when Count Basie and all of them. So when I was in Baltimore, when the big bands would come through from New York on the circuit, we'd hustle up money enough to get 25 cents so we could see the big bands play at the Royal Theater in Baltimore. And so that's all the music I knew. And so that's why I play it, because that's the music I knew, and that's why I like it, because it has meaning to it much more than, especially what they call music today. And I refuse to call hip-hop and this other stuff music. You can call it what you want, but don't put music on the back of it. It's nothing but a recitation. We used to do that thing years ago when they used to say we used to call it the ham bone. It went something like this. the ham bone walk, the ham bone talk, the ham bone meat with a knife and fork. We used to say that years ago, and that's the same thing they doing today and called it hip hop. So that was only because back in the old days, who had instruments? The poor people didn't, so they made, even from Africa, they made their own music through drums and all of this, but don't call it jazz. Now, Witchcom was a jazz player.
What's your favorite jazz player? I'm sorry.
This guy, what's his name? He made more money than all of them, playing trumpet. Dixieland Jazz. No.
Oh.
I can't think of his name.
Satchmo.
Yeah, Louis Armstrong. Now, he played a sort of jazz. I didn't like his Dixieland jazz. I really started liking jazz when I was in the Army. In 1947, it was a guy named Miles Davis. And the boys in the Army that was in the band knew more about it than me because they come out of Newark, New Jersey and all them. And that's when I first heard it. And then I first heard Dexter Gordon and Wardell Gray play a song entitled The Chase. And that's when I started really liking jazz. And I tried it when I was in the Army, and when I got out, I started playing it. But it wasn't jazz. I was playing more like a blues. See, all blues ain't slow. It's fast blues, jazz blues, hillbilly blues, but blues is blue. It just consists of the first three chord changes. But if I play jazz, it's not that I'm trying to play jazz, it's just what I play.
Like what you feel.
Mm.
Could you just play something for us with your one there and then your piano there?
I gotta move.
It's okay.
Mr. King.
Sweet comet Valentine, you make me smile with your heart. Your looks are laughable, unphotographable, yet you're my favorite work of art. Is your feelings less than weak? Is your mouth a little weak when you open it to speak? Are you smart? Don't take your hand from me, not if you care for me. Stay, little Valentine, stay. Yes, you stay. Each day is Valentine's Day. he said he was doing some rap things and music, and they called it music, and I get upset when they call it music, because when I first went to school and went down music class, the definition that the teacher gave us music was melodic and something pleasant to the ear.
Right.
Now, a whole lot of the so-called singers today is screaming and hollering, and that isn't pleasant to the ear. So the rap guys can call it rap all they want, but for God's sake, don't put music on the other end of it. And then I get a lot of feedback with the young people, but that's the way I feel about that as far as that goes. Oh,
We don't have to use it.
No, what I was going to say, I wanted to be heard, I guess. Because I didn't decide not to go on the road. I just got married, and that decided it for me. Between you and me, I never thought I was good enough to go on the road. I'm a very negative person. I'm my worst enemy, I know, but ain't nothing I can do about it. And he was asking about what could I say to children. I think rap have destroyed music for black children because they are not trying to play any instruments. All they want to do is try to sing rap. And I don't know about other schools around as far as music is concerned, because for a big town like that, it's very few black musicians. And with the young ones coming up now, they ain't thinking about the music, they want to play rap. Now you remember Charles Boy? He was playing saxophone, and he wanted me to teach him, and when he came around with his saxophone, I got out the music and the pencil, piece of paper, write all this down. He said, I don't want to play that, I want to play rock and roll. He just wanted me to teach him how to play rock and roll, and I couldn't. Go on, I would.
Yeah, that was my
Your cousin, the uncle one.
Yeah, I know he was in the marching band. He was in the.
No, I'm talking about the young one. We used to call him Nuck.
Oh, okay. He married Peggy Bowie. Peggy.
No, he left. No, that ain't. No, this was his name was. He was. Was it Emery? It wasn't Emery. It was another. Peg and them's brother or something, I guess. I don't know. But he just wanted to learn how to play rock and roll. I said I was going to teach him something about music. So I never tried to teach anybody, because really, if the parents want their children to play and the children don't want to play, that's a hard job, because they don't want to play. And so I've taught a couple, but I was worrying about me trying to play and not trying to teach nobody else, because I didn't think I was good enough to teach them anyway. So.
Okay, I think that would do it, Mr. King. Thank you, Mr. Red.
That would be my professional name if I'd ever, like when I play out here at the Holiday Inn, I put my name Mr. Reg. That's what they all call me, Mr. Reg. So that's the way I have it. Louis Jordan came up to the Armory, and I was up there years ago, and I went up to a saxophone player and told him, man, you got it made, you're on this road, boy, this is what I want to do. And he said, well, what do you do? I say, in the government. And he said, stay there. He said, look at me. He said, I'm 40-some years old. I don't have a family. I just go on to them circuits. You get the worst motels. You eat. And he said, and I got so till I knew every movie that they made, because during the day I had nothing to do but go to movies, waiting to play that night. And he said, it's miserable. He said, quit. He said, don't even try it. And then as I watched in later years about all my jazz musician idols, they're dead. They got like Clifford Brown and Bud Powell's brother. They were killed on the road traveling to go play music, and they went into dope. They had all of them had the liver ailments from doing this and that and the other, and so it's a hard life. And I'm glad, okay, well, I didn't make it music-wise like they did, but they made it too. They did, and I'm still here. So I'm glad I didn't, you know, even though I always wished I had, you know, but I played every weekend for a long while, and that was enough. And I've been retired 28 years from the government, and how many people retire the government and draw 28 years of pay? And I'm shooting for 30, you know, so it all works out at the end anyway.